how do we read the delimited file using method 1, local use, which is creating the metadata locally, and how do we create the repository metadata in the global use. Writing to the output delimited file we can cover during the positional also, which is not a problem. So let us start with positional file. Positional file, they are unlikely. I think most of you might be knowing and most of you might not be knowing, so that we are all aware. Positional files are nothing but fixed width files. In our ETL world, popularly we call them fixed width file. They do not come with any delimiter, and their width, the total width of the file, the periphery of the file is always fixed. So every field or every column has a particular position. Particular position in the sense it has to start at a particular position, it has to end at a particular position. Then the next field will start at some particular position and it will end at some particular position. So if we want to skip reading some field also, still we can do that. In delimited file, the restriction that we have is at the time of reading we cannot skip anything because it's about the delimiters. And positional, as you see, if you are point blank on the positions, then we really do not need to go to the entire file. Now let us quickly jump into our exercise. I hope every one of you has your Talend studio running. So we'll create quickly a job. We'll name it read positional. Okay, finish. Now, okay, someone says something in question. Yes, lot of mainframe data is positional, Neil says. Yes, right. So remember guys, in delimited, it's not that tricky, but sometimes the positional file becomes very tricky. So that we will see with the multiple options within positional. So any kind of mainframe data comes, you should be good to handle it. All right. So I'm just minimizing the screen so that I can see. So guys, for another 5 or 10 minutes, I will not be able to see the question window. I will again check it after 10 minutes so that I can answer you. Okay, quickly. Again, we need to go to the file. As you know that most of the file thing, you will get it in the file family. In the file, then go to the input, and then T file input positional. T file input positional, not T file MS input positional. Okay, I repeat, T file input positional. Bring it. And our favorite component to check and see, tlogger. All right. Now, yes. Now, who will answer me that during our delimited reading, we had seen one experiment that even if I create my metadata locally, that is in a what are the two types offered by the Talend? There are two types of creating the metadata. What are the two types as per the Talend terminologies? What are the two types? The term is called, one is called repository. What is the other type is called? It's called built-in. Yeah. So by now you should be, all of you should be very comfortable with the Talend terminologies, guys. Yeah. One is built-in, one is repository. See, if you are saving any schema, remember this. If you are saving any schema, you have created the schema or the metadata at a component level, which is your built-in method. But then you want to save that schema into the repository. It is going to save under generic schema. Rafim says yes, general schema. Very good. It's called generic schema. It is going to be saved any type of metadata you save, it is going to get saved under generic schema. If you are saving it exclusively, that is one way of doing it. Okay. Second way, when we are doing this positional, I'm just going to showcase you. Okay. Let's quickly come back to our positional way of how do we read the file. Then, okay, let me import my file first. Okay, this is my file. I hope you have already downloaded it. Yeah, this is my positional input. Okay. Alright. Please quickly pay attention here. I have already accessed which is going to be my which is going to be my positional file. Now let me open that positional file in the text pad. Guys, it is very important to understand your data before you start doing anything on the data, right? So this is the data that you would have downloaded, and I'll just go to quickly see the visible spaces in the file and with the line numbers. No, I'll switch off the line numbers. Okay. Alright. So see, this file doesn't have any header. Okay. What has been defined and given by my client, but this is not defined, that there is no header defined here. Okay. What I'm going to read is, I have an ID. If you see here, I have an ID. Yeah, the first position is called ID. It is the same kind of data that we had read during the positional. I am having ID from my first position. See, if I am selecting with the positions and the bytes, if you see how many bytes are selected, 10 bytes. Starting with position 1 till 10 is my ID. Then starting with 11 till 61 probably. So there are 50 bytes is my first name. Similarly, next 50 bytes is my last name. Then next 30 bytes is my city, and then next 10 bytes are my state, and then next 20 bytes are my date of joining. Alright, so this is what is my metadata. So I'm going to quickly define that in the positional. If you see, there is a property called pattern. Okay, pattern. Alright, this pattern, first we will create our metadata. Okay, then we will come back quickly to the pattern. How many fields we have? We have ID, then we have first name, then I have last name, then I have city, then I have state, then I have date of joining. Okay. Alright. Now what are going to be the lengths? As I said, the first one is 10 position, second is 50, third is 50, fourth city was, I think, how much was it? City was 20, then 10, 20, 10, then last date of joining was 20. Yeah. Okay, that's done. Yes, I would like to propagate a change. So in the customized pattern, you have to mention, in the pattern you have to mention the same thing like this: 10, 50, 50, then I have 20, 10, comma, then 20. Okay. 10 is ID, 50 first name, 50 last name, 20 city, 10 state, 20 date of joining. Okay. We'll save it. Yes, we'll run it. Remember guys, we have created the metadata in built-in format. Okay. Is our data has been read correctly? No, data is not read correctly. ID is correct, first name is correct, last name is correct, city is correct, state is, there is some mistake on the state. So let us quickly go back and check what are the position for the state. State, it is 10 bytes. So this is 10, this is 50, this is 50, this is, okay, this is 30. All right, that's where the mistake was. This is 30. You see, if you make very small mistake in a positional file, what is the outcome? Everything gets changed. 30. Yes, and then 30. Okay, as of now you have seen this is a mistake. Now I will just rerun it. Done. Correct. So remember guys, most of the time, this for all of you, positional files are very interesting files to read. At the same time they are very dangerous. You need to know each byte. Each byte is important in positional file. Sometimes you need to ignore some of the fields which you really do not need to take inside. I'll also explain you how do we do that in Talend. But it is more important that your initial reading, what we are doing right now, this initial reading should be perfect. ID should be within boundary and your first name should come within correct boundary, your last name, similarly your city, your state, your date of joining. Okay. How do we save the built-in metadata and can we reuse it or not? If you go to the edit schema window, okay, I think I had explained it in the previous class. I'll explain it one more time. If you see, there are one button which is to add the new fields. So if I click on any field, the other button gets activated, which is to delete the field. Then this is to move one field, change the positions of the field to move up and down. And then there are two important buttons. One is called export all the rows into the XML file, and there is one more button called import, replace all rows by import from the XML file. Okay, assuming that this job has already been created, and assume that this is some 100 or 200 fields worth of metadata. I do not want to do this again manually, and somehow in my previous job people have done it manually and they have not created in the repository. So what is the option with me? How can I reuse it? Okay, there are two ways. What you see here, one is export all the rows into the XML file. Once we do that, then if you see, we'll create something called metadata and we'll save it under that. This is called positional file1.xml. This saves in XML format case. Okay, so that file is saved. Now assume that this is a new job which I'm creating and I do not have any data. I do not have any metadata with me. So as soon as I click on my edit schema, I'm going to receive a blank screen like this, and I do not want to reinvest or rework on the closer metadata or same kind of metadata. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the same file. Okay, as soon as you select and open it, there you go. That is the beauty of Talend. It is not only you have only one type of option or one type of saving it, right? So that is like exporting everything in XML format and then re-importing the same XML, because anything on the backend metadata, they talk each other in a XML format. Okay, that is one way of doing, playing with these two buttons. Understood? This is what I was asking. Now there is one more method of click on the save as generic schema. The moment this is a positional file metadata, correct? But if I am clicking on the saving generic schema, the only thing that you get is a default folder. If you say okay, you need to name it. So I name it as positional file 1 and finished. Nothing happens. But if you go here, if you go back here on the metadata window, you see there was nothing before in the generic schema. Now there is one under generic schema. It's the same file which we just saved now. Right? So there are two ways of doing it, but the benefit, the reason why I was asking about that XML thing is, the benefit that you get in saving that in XML format kind of stuff approach, cross project also can access your metadata. Saving in a generic schema way, the only restriction what you get is it is limited to the project level. All jobs within that project can access it. But if you want, there are some cross project across verticals and somehow they are sharing the metadata. This is one of the quickest and best way of sharing the metadata. Alright, so now how do we save the metadata? How do we reuse the metadata? All clear? Yeah? Alright, so positional is done. So now we will see how do we write into positional. Okay? If I do not want to use the file. So for the time being, guys, I'm just starting off with one more component out of the box, as of now out of the box, not with any source or target system. This component is called tmap. But I can tell you that from tomorrow onwards, in most of the session, we are going to use this component. Okay, this is like, you can say this is the bread and butter in Talend. So this is the most widely used component, which is called tmap. Okay, tmap. I'm just doing it because I want to showcase that when we create a positional input file, positional output file, say for example, I am reading everything from my source system, which is everything, ID, first name, last name, city, state, date of joining. But my output requirement is I only need ID, city and state. So indirectly, I'm going to showcase how do we tamper around the metadata, where we define the source files, the target files. So when we move from development environment to production, I believe your question is, when we move from development environment to production environment, where is it that we define all such parameters or all such values, so that during the movement of code from development to production, we really don't do any code level changes. We just need to change the values of these parameters, right? Yes. I will cover that up. That is under the part of module 6, which is called parameterization. We do not need to hardcode anything in Talend, and we just parameterize it, and then we can control this job from anywhere. We will cover that in module 6. Okay. Just okay. I was where was I? Okay. I brought a tmap. Then I will bring from the file output, not output depreciated, file output. T file output. Where is T file output positional? Yeah. T file output positional. Okay. I'll just connect my components. As soon as you connect tmap to the T file output positional, you will get this pop-up. It is asking you to name the link, or it is asking you to name the node. So I'm going to name it as my out underscore positional. Okay, done. And you still see the red cross marks on top of tmap and on top of the T file output positional. That is reason why, because their metadata or the schema is not defined yet. So quickly, we will discuss tmap more on tomorrow's class once we are done with all the source and target system exclusively. Just for the time being, you should know that this is the component which helps us mapping between fields. And if you want to tweak your metadata from one area to the other, at a very high level, I am telling you the usage. If you want to tweak it from top to bottom, then this is the area which helps in doing that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I only wanted my ID, city, and my state, right? Okay, so I will only use this much. I will not take anything. I will drop rest all things here itself. Apply, yes, okay, yes, I want to propagate. See, the moment it gets the metadata, both the errors went off, correct? Now the T file output positional, I have to give where I want to save it, right? The file output. So I'll go and give it a path. I'll save it here. Out positional 1.txt. Okay, that's it. Sync columns. If I see the metadata, C is already propagated, ID, city, and state. And to be more precise, if you want the header to be included, you can. But in a positional file, I normally don't. I don't feel very comfortable in having a header, because it really doesn't make sense, because it's not a delimited file. It's a positional file. So positional the actual data will appear at the position only. Okay. Now, if I run it, all right, all those 100 record went there, but where is my output? All right, this is the file we just created, out positional. We'll open it. That's it, perfect. See, only 3 fields came to the output. So in this very particular exercise, we had covered so many stuff. One, how do I read and write both positional file? Okay. Second, how do we save the metadata, reuse it, both in exporting inputting format method as well as saving it as a generic schema. Third, how do we tamper around with the metadata using tmap? Tamper around in the sense, if I really do not need to bring all the fields to my output, then I get an option of pick and choose. Remember guys, this option is not available with each and every component in Talend. These are some special components, and there are some more special components also. Once we will start tomorrow morning, because today we have to finish all of the source and target system. That is very important for us. So I want all your cooperation, and we need to buckle up a little bit. So that I want to reserve more and more time for hands-on and for covering a lot of special scenario, because when you will actually come to know what Talend is capable of in the big data area and in the DI area, then you just simply just get mesmerized, like, oh, these are all the capabilities. It's very versatile. It's very flexible. All right. So all these things we had covered in our one exercise. How do we see the data? How do we track the data? Using tlog-row, and then using tmap, I have only used 3 fields, and then I have redirected them into the T file output positional. Okay,